waiting for the back room. Oh, might be up.
Sorry, I got a blank slate. That's my answer. I think we might be on.
It might be. It's a good play, They were working in the back room for the last half hour. I thought everything was under control, but
Well, you know, Janet's got a bad knee, so it takes a while to get places.
are we good? Okay, we'll call our Stearns County Board meeting to order for Tuesday, January 9, 2018. Roll call will show that all commissioners are present. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, everybody, and welcome. First item on our agenda today is the organization and board photo, and I guess the board photo will happen after the meeting. So I'm going to turn it over to our auditor treasurer to conduct the election.
Okay, first we'll ask for nominations for the chair of the county board.
I'm going to move that Commissioner Mergen is chair and Commissioner Persky vice chair. I'll do them both at the same time.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay, is there any other nominations? Any other nominations? Okay, all in favor of Commissioner Mergen as chair and Commissioner Persky as vice chair, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Jeff, we'll turn the meeting back to you.
At this time, we have the public access forum. If there's anyone here to speak before the board on items that are not on today's agenda, please approach the microphone. Use that microphone. Please give your name and address.
I'm Cindy Stelton, 31 Cherry Street, South Kimball. I'm sorry, what? Your item's on the agenda. My item is on the, can I just speak to it though, or not?
No, not if it's on the agenda.
Not on something that's on the agenda with,
Oh, I can't, okay, I just
yeah,
wanted to be.
at that point.
All right, sorry.
No problem.
Is there anyone else here to speak on the public forum, public access? If not, then we will go to item C, which is the consent agenda. Board members, what are your wishes on that?
Mr. Chair, I'll move the consent agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? Been moved and seconded?
Just one question. Since the county website is the official site for publications, we don't use any newspaper anymore, correct?
We
still use the Cold Spring Record.
right. We'd still do some in the newspaper when it's required
Okay,
and advantageous.
okay. All right, thank you.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is administration. Board and committee appointments, and we have Marla Stanner here.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Marla Tanner, Office Services Supervisor, and I'm here today to walk the board through the annual boards and committees appointment worksheet for 2018. Packet pages 55 to 62. There's also a hard copy on the days. I'll address the boards and committees one at a time. After reviewing the entire worksheet, the board can then move in one motion on all appointments. As indicated on the worksheet, a single asterisk denotes those committee members who are both interested and eligible for reappointment, and a double asterisk denotes those who have either reached term limits or are unable to continue to serve. First on the worksheet, under the Environmental Services Department, is the Board of Adjustment. The District 5 Planning Commission representative is in the rotation to The Planning Commission representation on the Board of Adjustment rotates on an annual basis, and this year it would be the District 5 representative, Michael Perrell. Jacob Holk's term has, the at-large slot has expired on the Board of Adjustment, and Mr. Holk, who was appointed in just January of this year, is both interested and eligible for reappointment. Does the board wish to reappoint Mr. Holk?
Okay.
Okay. Then moving on to the Aquatic Invasive Species Award Panel, currently Commissioner Merrick with Susan McGuire and Greg Berg. The Delinquent Refuse Account Appeals Panel, currently Commissioner Merrick with Commissioner Notch as the alternate, Doug Lean, Troy Fryhammer, Ross Dietert as an alternate, and Paula Sexton as a non-voting liaison.
Just one point, since most of our delinquent refuse accounts came from one hauler, and that hauler has since sold out, maybe, just maybe, we can eliminate that particular board. What would you suggest going forward? Because I see some, unless you're trying to imitate the doggy in the back window, I'm seeing some agreement. Dr. Willie, how do we go forward?
Commissioner, Mr. Chair, Commissioner, I know that the Environmental Services Department has been working on that. Maybe Shelley, you can just provide a quick update on where we're moving with that.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, we are in the process of working through the delinquent refuse accounts. The last hearing we just had did have someone appear before the panel and has some questions as to process and procedure, but since they have been bought out, and we're likely to be able to eliminate that board by the end of 2018. So we don't think it will happen anymore. We may be looking to address an ordinance change as well. We had considered that, but we want to finish through this cycle and then have that conversation.
Great minds thinking parallel.
Joe?
Is there any reason that we may have to just keep the board, according to statute, that we have an appeals board?
It wouldn't be statute, it's only based on our ordinance specifically.
It's our
And we
own
could
ordinance,
amend
that's
our
all right.
ordinance.
Okay, so, okay, that's fine.
All right, then moving on to the Feedlot Review Committee. The staff who work on, support that committee rotate also on an annual basis. This year it would be Brian Krippner with Beth E. Jo Jutton as the alternate. Interested and eligible for reappointment are Scott Leeser from the town officers, Nate Hilla from Soil and Water, Emily Wilmus from Extension, and James Hemis from the Municipal League. Dennis Ritter, as the ag producer, had reached term limits, and James Novak is the recommendation to replace Mr. Ritter. On the Planning Commission, Commissioner Persky serves as a representative, as a non-voting liaison, and Commissioner Notch is the alternate. The at-large position on the Planning Commission, that representative is no longer able to serve. There were 14 applications for that position, and I would ask the board for their direction.
You know, we had a good number of applicants for that, a lot of qualified people, and that's encouraging to see that. I'm going to make the recommendation for Richard Blankish.
All right, very good. All right, I'll move on then to the Planning Committee. Staff serving on the Planning Committee interested and eligible for reappointment are Jeff Miller, Jody Tyke is the alternate, Greg Berg, Wayne Sigel, Scott Marlin, Steve Holthouse is the alternate, Jennifer Buckentine, and Heidi Winskowski. It's the recommendation of the Planning Commission that Jeff Bertram replace John Kriebel, who is no longer going to be on the Planning Commission. Moving on to the Wetland Rules Committee, currently Commissioner Notch with Commissioner Mergen as the alternate. Susan McGuire, Greg Bechtold would be the first alternate this year, and Jennifer Kaminsky the second alternate. Greg Berg, Dennis Fuchs as an alternate, Chuck Wyman with Jody Tyke as an alternate. Wetland Appeals Panel, Commissioners Mergen and Lensmeyer, with Commissioner Notch as the alternate, and Scott Henderson. The alternate position has been vacant. Environmental Services Fee Appeals Panel, Solid Waste, got Commissioner Merrick, Jeff Johnson, Steve Holthouse, Troy Fryhammer, Doug Lean, and Paula Sexton as the ex officio. The business representative slot remains open as it did for the delinquent refuse account appeals panel. If there are no questions for extension, I'll move on, or for environmental services, I'll move on to the extension committees. The first committee is the Dairy Advisory Committee. Currently, Commissioners Notch and Merrick. Interested and eligible for reappointment are Sean Fogarty, Joe Gill, and Joe Borgerding. The next committee under extension is the Extension Committee. Currently, Commissioners Notch and Persky, as well as Randy Schreifels. Victor Cotton is interested and eligible for reappointment, and the at-large slot. Under the Highway Department, Area Planning Organization, currently Commissioners Persky, Lensmeyer, and Notch, with Commissioner Mergen as the alternate. The Area Planning Organization Executive Board is currently Commissioner Persky, with Commissioner Lensmeyer as the alternate. Area Planning Organization Tech Advisory Committee, Jody Tyke. Region 7W Transportation Committee, Commissioner Persky. Highway 23 Coalition, Commissioner Mergen. Moving on to the Human Resources Committees, the Classification Advisory Committee, currently Commissioner Merrick, along with Melissa Huberty, Michael Williams, and Jennifer Thorsten. The Health Insurance Committee, Michael Williams, Denise Jones, Jim Stigura, and Jennifer Thorsten. Personnel Board of Appeals, there are no vacancies that need to be filled in that category this year. Travel and Expense Committee, Michael Williams, Jennifer Thorsten, and Randy Schreifels. The Human Services Board is, of course, all commissioners. Moving on to the Human Services Committees, Human Services Advisory Committee, currently Commissioner Mergen. Interested and eligible for reappointment are Tom Lands and Roderick Garretts and Kelly Corpella. Other appointments are a Services Representative in District 1, Mary Walker, District 5, Danny Wold, District 1, Paul Tennyson, and I believe that is all of them. All right, moving on to the Minnesota Community Health Advisory Committee. Currently Commissioner Notch, with Renee Fraundienst as the alternate. Regional Emergency Medical Services, currently Commissioner Merrick, with Commissioner Notch as the alternate, and Renee Fraundienst. Community Corrections Advisory Committee, currently Commissioner Merrick, with Commissioner Mergen as the alternate. Interested and eligible for reappointment are Tiffany Thompson, Chung Lo, and Tom Lands. A recommendation for the education slot previously held by Al Johnson is Sam Norby. Moving along to the Family Services Collaborative Joint Powers Board, Commissioner Mergen, Commissioner Notch, and Commissioner Persky as the alternate. The SHIP Community Leadership Team is Commissioner Merrick. And that concludes the Human Services Board, or the Human Services category. Moving along to Parks, we have the Park Commission, currently Commissioner Persky. The District 5 representative had reached term limits. The recommendation to replace John Omscheid is Lucas Sostrom. And Sean Gates is recommended to continue his term as the District 1 representative. Parkland Dedication Fee Committee, currently Commissioners Persky and Mergen, along with the Park Director, the Environmental Services Director, and a County Attorney staff person.
That might be another one that we can take a look at, because there seems to be a change in philosophy on the board how to do that. So somebody make a note or make a mental note. Don't lose your notes. That merits reconsideration.
Very good. Next on the worksheet are the watersheds. Most of those appointments occur during the course of the year based on the watershed organizations. There are some annual appointments, however, for commissioners. The Sauk River Watershed District, currently Commissioner Notch. The North Fork Crow River Watershed District, also currently Commissioner Notch. The West Central Minnesota County and Watershed Joint Powers Board, currently Commissioner Notch with Commissioner Lenzmeyer as the alternate. And the Crow River Joint Powers Board, currently Commissioner Mergen with Commissioner Notch as the alternate. Next on the worksheet is the Noxious Weeds Appeal Committee, which was handled during the consent agenda by resolution. It's all commissioners along with the individuals noted, and the board chair is always the first representative on that committee. Under the non-departmental appointments are the AMC delegates, which are all commissioners, the county administrator, auditor treasurer, and human services administrator. And at this point, I'd also like to confirm the policy committee appointments. I have Environmental and Natural Resources Policy Committee, Commissioner Notch. General Government Policy Committee, Commissioner Merrick. Health and Human Services Policy Committee, Melissa Huberty. Public Safety Policy Committee, Commissioner Persky. And Transportation and Infrastructure Policy Committee, Commissioner Mergen. Next on the worksheet.
Question. On those AMC delegates, we don't have our transportation person on there. Jody Tyke, is there a reason, we have a person from Human Services? Should that person be included, or do they just attend those meetings, or do these people have voting powers, or how is it?
You have one vote per county.
Okay,
So if I'm not there, then Jody usually takes that role.
okay. I was just wondering, as far as the delegates are considered, is if there was any structure, because I know, Jody does a lot of work with that. Obviously, the counties are involved with the state as far as lobbying, that, maybe she's just included, so, yeah, okay.
Good observation.
Okay, next on the worksheet is the Central Minnesota Council on Aging. Currently Commissioners Merrick and Lenzmeyer. The Community Adult Mental Health Initiative Joint Powers Board, Commissioner Notch and Melissa Huberty. The Criminal Justice Coordinating Committee is a rather large group. Currently Commissioners Notch and Merrick with Commissioner Persky as the alternate, along with Michael Williams, Steve Hanmus, Don Goodmanson, John Lentz, Mark Maslankowski, Jeff Oxton, Blair Anderson, Janelle Kendall, Oli Tetvin, Justin Lyson, Michael Lieberg, Judge Chris Davik-Helfen, Becky Bales-Cramlett, George Locke, Rex Tucker, Gary Ganji, James Ilias, Melissa Huberty, Renee Froundings, Julie Ellis, Jim Steve as an alternate, Richard Lee, Judge Sarah Hennessy, and Cynthia Kirchhoff. The Emergency Services Board is currently Commissioner Lenzmeyer with Commissioner Notch as the alternate. The Emergency Services Board User Committee is Aaron Haushauer, Bob Dickhouse, James Hughes, Kristen Lahr, and Paul McIntyre. Moving on to the Great River Regional Library Board, Commissioner Lenzmeyer, and the terms, the District 5 and 2 terms have expired. Commissioner, under District 5, it's recommended to reappoint Jeff Bertram, and Zura Ajam is the recommendation for the District 2 vacancy. The Stearns History Museum Board, currently Commissioner Mergen. The Housing and Redevelopment Authority, currently Commissioner Mergen. The District 5 term has expired. John Greer is interested and eligible and recommended to continue to serve on that board. The Law Library, Commissioner Lenzmeyer. The Minnesota Inter-County Association, currently Commissioners Merrick and Lensmeyer, with Commissioner Mergen as the alternate. Minnesota Counties Computer Cooperative, Randy Schreifels is the delegate, with Jeff Johnson as the alternate. North Star Link, Commissioners Merrick and Lensmeyer. The
That
Painesville,
might be another one. Well, I don't know. We should look at changes there, maybe, maybe not.
Yeah, Mr. Chair and Commissioner, and we talked about it, and that's why we just at least changed the name here, that it's just the link, so that if we do need, have a reason for people to come, those 4 counties to come together, that you would have a couple of commissioners
Okay.
noted that would do that. But as you say, I mean, there is no formal, joint powers anymore in that area.
next on the worksheet is the Painesville Airport Zoning Board, Shelley Benson and Jennifer Buckentine. The Property Committee, Angie Berg, Jennifer Buckentine, Jake Anderson, Joe Pitti, Rita Lodemeyer, Chad Martini, Steve Holthouse, Mike Pooler, and Scott Marlin. Regional Rail Authority, Commissioners Merrick, Lensmeyer, and Notch. St. Cloud Airport Advisory Committee, Commissioners Lensmeyer and Merrick. Greater St. Cloud Development Corporation, Commissioner Lensmeyer, with Commissioner Merrick as the alternate. St. Cloud Area Joint Planning District Board, Commissioner Mergen, with Commissioner Persky as the alternate. St. Cloud Benton Sherburne Stearns Joint Airport Zoning Board, Commissioner Lensmeyer and Commissioner Merrick. On our last page of the worksheet is the Stearns Benton Employment and Training Council Joint Powers Board, currently Commissioners Merrick and Lensmeyer. TRICAP Board, Commissioners Merrick and Notch. The TRICAP Transportation Committee Advisory Committee, Commissioner Merrick, along with Janet Gologowski and Robin Ray as the alternate. Tax Abatement Committee, Commissioner Notch, with Commissioner Mergen as the alternate. Michael Williams, Randy Schreifels, Bob Swanberg, perhaps we'll change that to HRA Director, given Bob's pending retirement, and Jeff Johnson. Tri-County Solid Waste Management Commission, Commissioners Mergen, Merrick, Persky, and Lensmeyer, with Commissioner Notch and Michael Williams as alternates.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Mayor.
I have a couple of items on the bottom of page 4, SHIP Community Leadership Team. I believe we have finished our work, have we not, Mike? Or are we still operating? We haven't had a meeting there for a while. I'm not saying we should take it off. No, we maybe want to look into that, along with some of the other things that we're looking at.
We can do that.
Okay. And then on the last page, Stearns Benton Employment Training Council is now called Career Solutions.
Okay, thank you for that update.
Those are the 2 items.
Good eye.
And with that, unless there's other questions, I would move approval of the slate of appointments.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify with aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
I'd also like to remind the viewing public that we do advertise for all of our vacancies on the county's website, and we accept applications throughout the year. Applications remain in the queue for 2 years. You can visit our website at stearnscountymn.gov and go under Government and Boards and Committees. All right, thank you.
Thank you,
Good job,
Marlis.
Marlis.
Thanks, Mark.
We are scheduled for a break, but we're running ahead of schedule. Are we okay with going into environmental services?
There's one other thing on the appointment worksheet. There's an A and a B, the per diem
Oh,
summary.
okay, the per diems. I missed that. We do need to look at the per diems. Are there suggestions there, Commissioner Notch?
I just have a question. Was there a reason why some of them are $50 and some are $40? Does anybody, maybe I asked that once before, but.
We've talked about it last year. My understanding was that they all were going to have the same minimum, but that doesn't seem to be the case, so I'm not sure where that's at.
I guess if I can make a recommendation, I think we should set them all at $50, and
Right.
if you need that in the form
That a
of
motion?
motion, I'll make that a motion.
all of them are $50, except the two,
Yeah, there's certain ones
or
that have.
except the two that are designated at 100.
Correct.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I'll be 50, yeah.
Okay, good.
Are we okay with going into environmental services?
Sure.
Shelley?
We can do our best.
This is E on the agenda.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Shelley Benson, Environmental Services Director. We have a few items on consent first. If you want to, do you want me to go through those items, or do you want to just approve that as a consent
Anyone?
agenda?
Have anything with the consent agenda items? There's someone like to make a motion?
I'll move the consent items with just a question.
Second.
Commissioner Notch?
Did you pick up are there a few new haulers this year? I see there's a couple different names on there.
I would assume that whomever is on there, yes, actually, I do remember one application for specifically coming in that was new, that had to be listed as a hauler, even though they're not actually going to be doing hauling routes.
Okay,
So, yes.
all right, thank you.
Any other discussion? Not all in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now
And-
we're on to environmental services F, page 154, F1.
Got to get to that agenda item here. Actually, would it be possible, Mr. Chair, if we move to the last item that's on, not Becky Schlorf is here for,
Okay.
while I wait
That
for
will-
Angie
that
to
will
get
work.
here?
The North Fork Crow River, one
Yes.
watershed, one plan.
Correct. That would be item F4, packet page 195.
All right.
Becky?
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. This is to authorize release of the plan for the North Fork Crow River One Watershed, One Plan for public review. There's an approved memorandum of agreement that you signed back in March of 2015, and it has now been developed to the plan phase, and Commissioner Mergen is on the policy committee for that process, and then Sue McGuire is on another committee with that. In addition to authorizing the release for public review, in order to eliminate duplication, we would like you to consider authorizing the North Fork River Watershed District to do the noticing that is required by Stearns County for that memorandum of agreement. And that would notice then to the state agencies and the impacted watershed districts, cities, and townships. In addition, we would also place the notice of the plan on our county website. As well, we would like you to consider authorizing the North Fork Crow River Watershed District to hold the public hearing on the plan, and then appoint a county representative to attend that hearing. I know that you have not seen the plan except for Commissioner Mergen, and the email just came out with that link to the plan. And I can forward that to you, as well as I do have a handout here for you. But the plan then is out for comment for 60 days. After that, then the state has to wait a 14-day waiting period or comment period before the public hearing is held. After that, it comes back to you to approve the plan, and as well as the other entities, including the Watershed District and the Soil and Water Conservation Districts. After that, the Board of Water and Soil Resources reviews the plan, makes their approval, and then after that, it comes back to you for adoption. And this is a process that was laid out by the legislature to try to make things watershed-based instead of jurisdictional or county-based, and have parties coordinate on priorities for targeting the funds. And the tight schedule is in order to try to apply for those funds that will be available later this year.
Sounds like a streamlined process to me.
This has been going on for quite some time, this process. And the reason it's kind of, all of a sudden there are deadlines that are approaching, and coordinating all of the different counties plus all the different entities has been an issue.
I'll move the recommended action.
Yeah.
And then for the, can I also include the appointment? Would you be willing to, does the county rep, is it a commissioner or somebody?
I would say it would be up to you, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Notch. We could certainly have Sue McGuire attend, or if you would like, Commissioner Mergen to be the representative as well, I think that's up to you.
Do you have a preference?
I really don't. I guess I wouldn't, I think either one would be a good representative. So I guess I would leave it up to the board.
I'll leave that up to you, Jeff, if you're.
Well, Shelley, what would you prefer on that?
I don't have a preference. I think you've been part of that policy committee and are aware, and Sue's also very aware of the plan because she's been in that technical role. So I think either party can do a fine job. It depends on if you want to attend more public meetings and be a part of that process. Sue certainly could add value to that process, though, if you feel like you want.
Can we leave it open? Or
I would say you could
Yeah,
probably I'll say either one of you maybe as a way of leaving it
Okay.
open.
either one or both?
I'll
Yeah.
accept that.
Yeah,
To be determined.
I like that.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yeah, just the only comment I would add is, yeah, I'd prefer a commissioner over staff. And if you two, one of you two or both are willing to do it,
I'm
thank
willing
you.
to do it as long as the schedule works. Anyone else? Not all in favor, signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Now we'll go back to the other item, F1, packet page 154. Angie Berg is here to go through those items with you.
Good morning.
Morning.
The next item we'll be going through is to basically receive an update on a rezoning application submitted by Verna and Arlen Salmela and Vanessa Salmela of South Haven. This is, was needed to be continued from the Planning Commission meeting that was held in December. It will be continued until the January meeting, which means the ordinance we had scheduled for you to consider today also needs to be continued. So the action today would be to basically just accept the continuance until the January 23rd board meeting.
I'll move the recommendation.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The next item on the agenda is to consider the Planning Commission's recommendation on a rezoning application submitted by the Hurley Family Trust from Clearwater and enact ordinance number 567. The Planning Commission held a public hearing on December 21st, and their recommendation was to deny the rezoning. If the board does not concur with the Planning Commission's recommendation, it's your policy is to typically schedule your own public hearing, which the soonest you could do that would be February 6th of 2018. Do you want me to go through the merits of the application?
Would you please?
Sure. So the property is currently zoned agricultural 40. It's 20 acres located in Fairhaven Township. And let's see, get a map up here.
I think I got to get the document.
So on
Karen.
packet page 169 is the area of the agricultural 40. This is the A40, this is A80. The proposed rezoning of the 20 is to go to R10. And there's an existing building site located on the east, approximately 10 acres. And the family's desire is to sell this as a building site as well as this, which would require either a building entitlement transfer, which you've received some emails related to that, or a rezoning, which is in front of you today. And I know Shelley was at the meeting. I was not at the Planning Commission meeting. I believe there was a couple members from the public at the hearing.
There were two members of the public that were present that were opposed to the rezoning, based on the fact that a lot of the activities and the existing residential lots in the area were done prior to the zoning ordinance being adopted. So those were the two parties that came to provide testimony.
I'm sorry, but that's not so. They were approved, they approved it, they wanted it. They were for it.
I thought I saw something in here too, that they've testified for it. as I
Mr.
read
Chair.
through this.
If we're going to have a discussion, I would prefer to set a separate public hearing and go through all of this.
I think that would be a good idea at this point.
So, Mr. Chair, if the board's wishes are to hold your own hearing, the
Oh, yeah,
soonest.
I'd move that.
I'll second.
I was just going to add, also, the board had recommended that they apply for credit opposed to just making the rezoning change, because the idea that it was spot zoning, well, we could have then protected the agricultural area by having those credits. So that was the recommendation for the board, and a strong reason why they did oppose it, so,
So you're okay with a public hearing?
yeah, that'll be fine.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify with aye.
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 Opposed? The motion carries. Public hearing, do you have,
The soonest would be February 6th, and we'll work with county administration on setting a time.
all right, thank you.
The next item on the agenda is to consider the Planning Commission's recommendation on a request to amend a subdivision agreement for Wildwood Park Edition, which was submitted by Wildwood Ranch LLP, Doran Honer, St. Joseph, Myra and Thomas Schrupp, St. Joseph, and Orchard Creek Properties LLC of Sartell. The recommendation is to approve the Planning Commission's approval of changing the subdivision agreement for this development. If you remember, Wildwood Park Edition was platted after the county purchased the parkland for Wildwood Park. And the family has changed their, the families changed their wishes on how to sell the land. They want to basically only keep 2 building sites, eliminate the rest, and keep it as open space, or, possibly an expansion for the maple syrup expansion, possibly, somewhere in this location. What's in front of you today is to amend the subdivision agreement, which would not require them to build the road or build the stormwater facilities, which they would not be required to do if they weren't going to be platting. So a plat will come in front of you. It will be a minor subdivision in the next few months, and that will realign the lots, and then the subdivision agreement would be amended so they don't have to make those infrastructure improvements.
Basically, they wanted to reduce the density, which is good for that park area, so Planning Commission concurred with that.
Anything else from anyone? Do we have a motion?
I'll move that.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And that's all I have, unless you have something specifically for me.
Yes, I'll tell you what, I had some discussion. I was at the Rice Sportsman's meeting, and they were talking about the drawdown and what was going to happen with the dropping of the water level above the Sartell Dam, and the potential for opportunities. One we have there is a large cleanup, because there's going to be a considerable amount of debris that's there in the river that's going to perhaps be exposed. So with Mississippi Park that we have available there, I was wondering if we could potentially assist there, perhaps, maybe with some type of collection of some of that debris that can't be brought up off the steep hills, maybe collected there at the beach if that's possible. But anyway, have that discussion as far as planning, because it's going to be an opportunity we haven't had before. And it's going to be a great chance maybe to look and see at all that junk that's in the river and potentially help. Of course, we have Benton County on the other side. Maybe that could be a coordinated effort to clean that up. So anyway, just wanted to make sure you're aware of that, and we look at that and maybe talk with Parks Department. So.
Mr. Merrick.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure, the individual that wanted to speak at the public access forum could not speak, but make sure that they know that they can speak at when the public hearing comes up. So, we want to make sure that people have these opportunities, but there was confusion there, so make sure that that's clear to these people.
Yes, we will do that.
Thank you.
And did we have any action on the property with the drive? Has that been resolved? Did we need to take action on that?
That was on your consent agenda,
Okay, so that was switched. Oh, okay.
and so it is taken care of, Mr.
Okay.
Chair and Commissioner Persky.
Anyone else have anything for Shelley? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Angie. We're going to take a break at this point. We have Public Works up next, but don't see Jody here, and we're running ahead of schedule, so we're going to take a 5-minute break. We're back in session. We have Jody Tyke here from Public Works. Jody?
Good morning. My first item begins on page 196 of your board packets. For my first item, I am asking the board to authorize advertising for bids for our 2018 seal coat contract. During the break, I did hand out maps to each of you. As you may have noticed, we are going to do another gravel road with that double chip seal on it. It's County Road 172, just east of Freeport. It's a north-south road. I'm asking the board to approve a bid opening date of February 2nd, 2018.
Mr. Chair, I'll move the recommendation.
I'll second that.
And a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
My next item on page 197 of your board packets, I'm asking the board to authorize advertising for bids for our first 2018 resurfacing contract. All of these roads are included in our 5-year road improvement plan. As a side note, the 2018 resurfacing work is going to be broken out into 4 contracts because of some federal funding we have. This contract, which is generally rural roads throughout the county, the Melrose area resurfacing, County Road 50 will be its own contract, and County Road 75 will be its own contract. So for this first resurfacing contract, I'm asking the board to approve a bid opening date of February 2nd, 2018.
I'll move that recommended action.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify with aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
I have no miscellaneous items unless the board has anything for me.
Mr. Persky?
Yes, Jody, I've got a couple of phone calls about County Road 2. People are thinking that that's all they're going to get, but could you just tell them what's going to happen in the spring?
We actually have in the rural section 2 lifts of pavement left to go onto that road, so it will be another basically 2.5 to 3 inches depending which section it is. So there is more pavement. We have to do additional turf establishment and cleanup and some touching up of some of the driveways as well. The contractor got behind, as you're aware, and we're addressing that with some liquidated damages on the contract. But because of that, we did plan to only do the 1 lift in the rural area anyway, but so some of that turf did not get established as quickly, obviously, as we wanted it to. So we'll be doing some cleanup with that, and then there are, like I said, 2 additional lifts of pavement going on that road.
Right, and I just had, some questions. People just wanted us to bring it up to a quality standard, and so.
Absolutely. It's an arterial road that carries a significant amount of heavy traffic, so we are aware there's a lot of work
All
left
right,
to do on
okay,
it.
thank you.
Anybody have anything else for Jody?
Thank you.
Jody. Thank you, Jody. At this point, we'll recess the regular county board meeting and conduct the human services meeting. We have Melissa Huberty here, along with Becky Bales Cramlett.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. I am Melissa Huberty, the Human Services Administrator, and the consent items for Human Services are H1 through H2 on pages 200 through 202. And if you have any questions, please let me know.
I'll move the Human Services consent items.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Today there's one Human Services Board item, and it's item I-1 on page 203. And I have with me today the Division Director of Corrections, Becky Bales Cramlett, and she will be reviewing the changes to the Community Corrections Act Comprehensive Plan and Grant Application Agreement, giving us some highlights from the past couple of years, and requesting the board to accept the funds for our next grant period.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Thank you for this opportunity to talk about our Community Corrections Act plan. This is required by statute biannually, and in order for us to receive the funding, this is one of the requirements. And in the plan, which is quite extensive, we talk about the correctional services, different program descriptions, strategic plans. We have budget. We talk about our FTEs by program area. And I also have the opportunity to talk about a few highlights in the plan. So in your board packet, I'm going to reference packet page 206 through 208 and just talk about a few of the highlights over the past couple years, and I'll be very brief. I first of all want to thank the Community Corrections Advisory Board and thank Commissioner Merrick for his involvement on that board, and also Commissioner Mergen as an alternate on that board. That board has been very instrumental in submitting this plan every year and the interim plan on the off years. I want to talk first about the work that we do as community corrections in focusing on highest risk offenders. These are the offenders that are at highest risk to reoffend, and we want to spend most of our time and energy working with these clients in the community to hopefully prevent them from reoffending and prevent them from going to jail and or prison. One of the areas that we've worked very hard on is our domestic violence supervision. This began with the Domestic Violence Partnership, thanks to the leadership of the County Attorney, Janelle Kendall. Many years ago, we put together a repeat felony domestic violence caseload. And after all of the learnings and trainings and success that we've seen with that caseload, we've also done another focus with another agent on an enhanced domestic violence caseload. This agent works with those very high-risk people that don't quite meet the criteria for the repeat felony program. But according to our risk assessment tool, they are at high risk to commit a new domestic violence offense. So this agent works very closely with our domestic violence agent in the court program, and our goal again is to reduce crime and or eliminate crime in the future. I want to talk about our juvenile intensive supervision program. Again, we want to focus most of our resources on the highest risk population, and we've just begun doing that just a few months ago with our juvenile caseload. We had an agent that's interested in this work, and we've just started to take our first couple kids on the highest risk supervision. Hopefully this will help prevent crime and out-of-home placement, saving dollars and, again, victims. Referencing packet page 207, motivational interviewing is a key skill that we need for behavior change. When agents work with clients, they're not only a broker to services in the community, but they work with them to skill practice and assess the client's risk to hopefully help them reduce their criminogenic risk factors. We have really integrated our motivational interviewing skills in how we work with our clients. We actually have agents submit tapes showing their skills, audio tapes to our trained trainers, and we spend time working with them to make sure they're doing the best that they can while they're working with those clients to help reduce that risk for future crime. Going down the page on 207, I want to briefly mention our CSTS Mobile. This is a technology that came out in all of corrections in the state. This is an opportunity where agents in the field can utilize our software system on a mobile device. It makes us way more efficient. They're able to get our documents that are needed for the client out in the community, and they're also able to make case notes very quickly and efficiently and have much more accuracy with their case notes. Going to packet page 208, I want to just take a moment to acknowledge the work that we're doing with our veterans. We do have veterans that come into contact with the criminal justice system, and we recognize that some of them may be there due to their service to the military, whether it would be multiple deployments, PTSD, or other factors that might be related to the military. We have a specialized caseload that works with clients through the Veterans Court Protocol, and we actually have a veteran agent. He himself is a veteran who works really closely with these clients to hopefully meet their needs so, again, they stay out of the criminal justice system. Finally, I want to take a moment to acknowledge in 2016 and in 2017, we were fortunate enough here in Stearns County to have 3 different agents that were recognized for statewide awards. We had our 2 pretrial agents, Roberta Fromm and Sarah Byers-Scott, received the Board of Directors Award at the Pretrial Services Conference in 2016. And in 2017, Jeremy Gallagher, who works with our Repeat Felony Domestic Violence Court, received the Outstanding Agent Award at the Minnesota Community Corrections Act Conference. And I just want to take a moment to recognize those 3 agents. It's very admirable to have 3 different people recognized at 2 different conferences this year. Finally, I'd like to ask the board approve the 2018 and 2019 Community Corrections Act Comprehensive Plan and authorize board chair for signature for the grant application agreement so we may receive this Community Corrections Act funding. Any questions or comments?
I'll move the recommended action.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
With that, we will close the Human Services Board and reconvene the regular board meeting. And I believe the only item we have left are issues by commissioners. Commissioner Merrick.
There's a couple of them. Well, first of all, I'm announcing today that I will not seek re-election to the Stearns County Board of Commissioners in 2018. One of the great honors of my lifetime has been the privilege of serving as an elected official in local government for the past 38 years. A very special thank you to my wife Sharon, to our children and their families, and to all our friends for your love, support, and words of encouragement during all these years. Thank you to all past and present boards and staff who I've had the pleasure of working with during that time. Thank you to my constituents who have made it all possible. I cannot find the words to adequately express my gratitude for the opportunity to serve our local community. Thank you.
Surprise. Mr. Persky.
Well, I didn't have anything, but let me be the first to thank Dwayne for all of his work on the board here and also throughout his life in the community here around St. Cloud and in the area he grew up. You've definitely had an impact, Dwayne, a very positive impact on many people's lives, and many generations are going to benefit from some of the very good decisions you made, so thanks a lot.
Thank you.
I want to echo those same sentiments, Dwayne. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Notch?
Yeah, I didn't have anything either, and I guess I would echo those comments as well, and appreciate Commissioner Merrick's help when I first got on, as far as kind of giving some guidance on, you know, the role of the county commissioner, and kind of taking the time to answer questions I've had and issues. And it's much appreciated.
Commissioner Lansmeyer?
I thought of this during a human services presentation, but boy, it really applies organization-wide. Dr. Willie, this is right up your alley, hopefully. How do you measure, you know, if we were running a widget factory and we're trying to measure productivity, we'd look at changes in the operation that would either improve the quality or the number of widgets produced, okay, the efficiency measure. I don't know how that's done in an entity whose function it is to deliver primarily services. You know, Stearns County doesn't manufacture anything. Granted, we've had all of these studies for all of these departments. I don't know if there's anything in the professional literature on ways to do that and so forth, but the thing that traditionally the first quarter of the year can be used for is new ideas, new procedures, new processes, and so forth, because the rest of once you get into the middle of the second quarter, then the budget process starts and our attention goes in a different direction. So I don't know if you know of anything, but I think that merits a look.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner, I would agree. I think, and I'm glad you used the term widget, because even though we're providing services, we can always find a widget in what we do. There's always a report or something that we actually construct and pass on. And so we can look at the efficiency of our processes by focusing on whatever our widgets are. Measuring the success of the service sometimes is a little more difficult, but we certainly can look at the efficiencies by using like lean processes and that kind of thing.
Oh, good. Maybe that wasn't a nutty idea. Also, folks, would it have merit to authorize the board chair to sign a get well card for Jeff Bertram? He's involved in a number of committees and boards and commissions, and he has been for a long time, at least since I've been here. So maybe that would have some merit, you know. So if so, then I think we ought to go ahead with that. And that's all I thought I had. And now I find out that thanks to Dwayne's actions, his decisions, I'll soon be the oldest member on this board. Thanks a lot, Dwayne.
Randy?
I don't have anything.
Mike, I know you have HRA?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's just a couple of things, and one of them is the HRA board. And we talked a little bit about that at our last meeting. And I talked with Bruce Miles and with Bob Swanberg since that meeting, and the direction that we thought we could move is to engage this board, the county board, and the HRA board in a joint meeting, just to have a conversation about where we go from here, and make sure that the county board understands the process that the HRA board has just gone through, and then talk about what the next steps might be. And so we're suggesting that we could do that as soon as after our next board meeting. So if the board is interested in that, we've already begun to plan that agenda, but I certainly want to get the board's head nod before we move forward with that.
I'm on that board, and yesterday we had a meeting, and those people give all indications that they would appreciate that.
They were what?
They would like to have that meeting. They would appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of possibilities now. I mean, maybe something like we did in the sheriff's office, an interim, along with the study. So, Bruce Miles is providing the study. So, and there's some local folks, if we can get them interested, that would be entirely appropriate for that role.
Mr. Chair, yeah, I'm kind of thinking along the lines that Commissioner Lenzmeyer talked about. We've had a review process for all of the departments as the departments had left. And that review process has been beneficial, I think, for everybody involved. And so I think about an individual, I'm not recommending at this time, but Brian Myers, who has led us over at the Mental Health Center. He led the process for our sheriff, and he's been involved in the community for a long time. Somebody that could facilitate that discussion, not discounting Bruce Miles or anything, but he's done the report, so we're kind of to the next step now, and I'm not sure where we go, but I don't want to rush into this. I think we need to take our time, so. And I'm not sure how we move forward or if I even have a recommendation, but just some food for thought.
Braille our way through.
Are you okay with having that meeting with that board then after
I think
the
that
next
would be a
meeting?
good start, maybe, and then see what develops from that, along with the comments from here today. So.
Do we need a motion on that, or can we just do that?
I think staff can just arrange it.
Yeah.
Okay.
You heard us.
Mr. Chair, just a couple other things if I could. We are planning to have our legislative delegation in on February 6th. So that meeting will probably run through the noon hour. If you could plan ahead for that a little bit. It also means that our next meeting will show you what staff thinks our priorities for the year should be, and you can have that discussion and hopefully approve a slate of issues. Also, in planning ahead for kind of long meetings, February 20th would be our annual strategic planning session. And so that'll be an all-day affair, even into the evening after your regular meeting on that Tuesday, the 20th. And we're planning on having that session again at the museum, and we'll go for most of the day. One other item is I sent you an email and just noted so you knew that Pete Theismann, our Parks Director, was retiring next month. And while we're sad to see him go, we'll need to start a process to find a replacement for Peter, and we'll begin that sometime soon, and board members that'll be involved in that will be notified. We'll use kind of the normal process where we'll involve the board chair and vice chair within the process, but that appointment would be made by the county board at the end. One other item, I know the board was very concerned, and many of us were, about how the boardroom technology was functioning, and you might notice we had quite a few people that have been in the back rooms the last couple of meetings. We have folks here from iSpace. That's the company that installed everything. They've been here, and a number of our IS staff fine-tuning things. And again, this meeting you saw that, and so we'll bring you back a final report sometime in the near future about how that is all coming together. But I think we're solving those issues pretty well. Just one last thing you notice in the consent agenda. Thank you for approving the new awards program and policy. We really updated that so that we could inject the new values into that. If you notice when you read that, very closely follows the new county mission and values that the county board enacted about a year ago. And lastly, I would thank Mr. Merrick for his work for many years. I was fortunate to work with Dwayne in the city government too, so I know the value of Dwayne's membership on any governing body, and thank you for all of that, Dwayne.
Thank you.
Mr. Merrick?
Yeah, there was two other things. The retirement of Peter Teisman you talked about, and Pete Reuter. Is there a review process that's been taking place in those departments, or do we do that now? I don't remember if we went through those two departments.
This is, of course, I wasn't here, but I believe the facilities did have a study conducted. I'm not sure about parks, but we'll have to make sure of that.
Is that something you can check into?
Yeah, certainly will.
Okay, thank you. And then we've got the MICA meeting coming up next week.
When?
In Mankato, well, on I think 2 Wednesdays from now. So you're arranging for some kind of coordination on transportation and?
Yes, I think so far we only have yourself and me going. If anybody else is planning to, we should notify me or Marlis, but yeah, we'll coordinate that.
Okay, thanks.
I have continuing ed, so I can't make it.
I'm not available that day also. Is there anything else?
I think the horse is dead.
Seeing nothing, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.